current affairs and current issues. First Timothy, chapter number 2, verses 1 through 4. Bible says, Paul is talking to Timothy. I exhort, therefore, that first of all, supplications, prayers, intercessions, and giving of thanks be made for all men, for kings, and for all that are in authority, that we may lead a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and honesty. For this is good and acceptable in the sight of God our Savior, who will have all men to be saved and come unto the knowledge of the truth. I want to talk again this morning about our citizenship, Christian citizenship in America, part number 2. God bless you. Thank you for standing in honor of the word. Part 2 of our Christian citizenship in America. I know many of you have grown weary and tired of the same discussions. No matter where you go, no matter where you turn, we still been talking about the same stuff. In the wake, W-A-K-E, in the wake of the numerous shootings among African Americans and the law enforcement community, tensions are still high and feelings are still quite raw. And it seems as though everyone is weighing in and putting their voice and their perspective on the current conditions of our country. It's no surprise to anyone in here. You turn on your television, you log on to your computer, everybody is weighing in and putting their voice, their spin, and their commentary on what is transpiring in our nation. The other night, President Obama blocked off a whole hour and had a town hall meeting where he took questions and made comments with individuals in the community, talking specifically about race relations and where we stand in America today. Politicians are giving their voice. The two front runners of our presidential race have given some commentary. You hear it from high-ranking law enforcement officers across the country. Journalists, reporters, and news networks are all spotlighting and highlighting the violence between African Americans and, frankly, white America. Pastors, religious organizations, and the overall faith community are taking time in their worship experience to address the ills of our nation. College students, young people, students who are growing up in this generation are speaking and giving their voice to what is happening in our nation. Suburban housewives, they have something to say. And brothers and sisters, even criminals, ex-cons and felons, we call some of them thugs and gangbangers. Everybody has something to say. And as a leader of a predominantly African American congregation, I still feel compelled with a sense of responsibility to try to provide for us the right word from the Lord to help navigate us through these challenging times, and to help us, in the words of Martin King, to help us grapple with the racial and social dilemma in America. Don't fool yourself, we are facing a serious dilemma. And I wish our young people would try to hear what I'm saying, that not only those of us who have reached adulthood, we are not the only ones who have to deal with this dilemma. But all of us whose skin has been tainted with the ebony hue. All of us have to deal with this dilemma. And what is, Pastor? What is, Alicia, what is the dilemma? Here is the dilemma. And I've tried in my own limited intelligence, tried to package for us what the ultimate dilemma facing us really is. Here is the dilemma. I believe you'll go along with this, Reverend Lindsay. Here's the dilemma. We must responsibly reconcile and integrate our Christian obligation with our social responsibility. We must somehow responsibly integrate our spiritual obligation with our ethnic responsibility. We must somehow, somebody say somehow. We must somehow balance our commitment to Christ with our sense of racial pride. Somebody say balance now. We must balance. That's the dilemma. That's the dilemma, caviar. We must balance our commitment to Christ with our sense of racial pride. And however, in this pursuit of balancing those two, we must never forget, as I said last Sunday morning, that we are disciples of Christ first and foremost. My brothers and sisters, hear me clearly. We cannot lose or minimize our allegiance to Christ in an attempt to show our solidarity and faithfulness to our race. Although, as I said last week, although the kingdom that we are ultimately advancing is not of this world, we cannot afford to be so heavenly minded that we become no earthly good. My brothers and sisters, despite, go on and preach here, despite the fact that the message that we promote cannot be comprehended by the world's conventional wisdom, as followers of Christ, we must let the love and light of Christ shine through the reality of our ethnicity. One more time, because I like the way that sounded. Brothers and sisters, but we have to understand that as followers of Christ first, we must let the love and light of Christ shine through the reality of our ethnicity. Because read your Bible. According to Matthew 5, we are the light of the world. We are the salt of the earth. It's our job, Reverend Lewis, to spread the message of Christ while remaining true to being black in America. I told you last Sunday morning. Now, brothers and sisters, our restlessness, our anger, our anxiety, and our frustration is understandable. But our response in rage, violence, and hatred is unacceptable. It's understandable that you're upset, but how you handle your anger is unacceptable, especially if you handle it in violence and in anger. Don't get it twisted now. Andrea, there's still a high price, a real high price to pay in America when you are African American. Just because the Lord has allowed us to experience tremendous advancements, don't you fool yourself. You are still African African American, and they are still look at you and judge you by the color of your skin. Oh, some of us in here have become so removed that we believe that racism no longer exists. Where have you been? You better come from under that rock that you're living and come out of that cycle of denial. Yeah, there's still bigotry, prejudice, and racial injustice in America in 2016. Well, I don't agree with you. After all, we gave y'all the White House. You ain't gave us nothing. Through the political process, we went to the polls and voted, and the majority placed, Barack Hussein Obama in the White House. And when you discovered that you could not handle the majority, you decided in your own subtle sense of racism to try to make his presidency null and void and ineffective. That's why everything he says he needs to do, we just say no just for the hell of it. Yeah, come on. Yeah, come on. Don't you get so excited that you miss the fact that just because he's in the White House, that does not mean that his presidency has been relevant for all America. Look at everything he tries to do. Look at everything he has done. They still trying to repeal Obamacare. And the Supreme Court has already declared that Obamacare is the law of the land. But they don't care nothing about that because a black man came up with it. Y'all gonna sit there in your denial just because you got a little promotion and you drink coffee with white folk, baby. They still have limitations when it comes to their involvement with you. I told you last Sunday morning that we must put in perspective, we must put into context, and we must put into proper balance this whole issue of Black Lives Matter. Boy, if we was at the house, I'd go and tell y'all what I really think. But since I'm at this sacred desk, I might need to be a little cautious on how I tread the ground here. Brothers and sisters, black lives have always mattered. But let me go and tell us, black lives shouldn't just matter just to white folk and just to the police. But why can't black lives matter to us? If we really think that black lives matter, why can't we stop killing one another? Why can't we stop raping and breaking into each other's houses and burning down our own neighborhoods when we call ourselves protesters? My brothers and sisters, let me say this in love, because I believe, Dr. Catron, that it's not just my spiritual obligation, but it becomes my social duty as a pastor of people to try to get them to be responsible in their social responsibilities. Saints of God, hear me in love. We cannot put demands on others without first of all being disciplined enough to put demands on ourselves. Brothers and sisters, we are caught in what I call a juggling act. We are juggling racist statements, but we're juggling the racist statements, Brother Wright, in the backdrop of our own self-degrading truth. What they say may be racist, but is it true? Y'all missing it. What they say may be racist and bigotry, but is it true? So we have to juggle We got to juggle between the racist statements in the backdrop of our own self-degrading truth. We cannot change a person who has racism in his heart, but we can do everything in our power not to succumb to the predictable, destructive behavior that we've been labeled for. Just cause they label us to do it don't mean we got to do it. But we keep inflicting this predictable, destructive behavior on ourselves. Told you last Sunday morning, our Christian obligation as black Christians in America, we must obey the laws of the land. We've got to respect those in authority. And we must demonstrate the love of Christ. Watch the screen. I like this part of my manuscript. But as we continue to tread through these racial waters that seem to flood our own sense of progress and awareness, there are still some things that we must take responsibility in doing for ourselves and among ourselves. Watch how it gets tight right here. We have some additional responsibility as we navigate ourselves through these racial waters. My brothers and sisters, as Christian black Americans, we must first of all make sure that our protests have purpose. Lord Jesus, help me preach here. Y'all, we got to make sure that our protests have purpose. Before signing up, before participating in any protest, march, or demonstration, be resourceful enough to know, understand, and able to articulate for yourself what the ultimate purpose behind the demonstration really is. Before you rush downtown, before you rush anywhere, ask, and then wait for an answer to the question. What are the specific realistic things are we trying to accomplish and achieve in this protest? I feel your pain, but let me go and tell you, there must be a clear and precise purpose and agenda before you get out there in the heat, marching cross bridges. Do you know why you out there? You ain't just out there because a white policeman killed a black man. You've got to be able to identify a clear purpose and a clear agenda for why you're protesting. My people. My people. Do us a favor. Study the demonstrations during the civil rights movement in the 1950s and the 1960s. See, our biggest problem is we got a generation that don't know nothing about their history and don't care nothing about the price that it cost us to be where we are today. Here you are out there protesting in ignorance, but you need to protest with a purpose. Study your history. While all y'all young folks sitting up talking about history is boring, you better know from where you come from. You better know that your great-great-grandfathers would have killed just to be in your privilege and to walk in your opportunity. And here we are squandering every chance that we have been given to us. And we still walking around acting like the world owes us something. Y'all study the demonstrations of the civil rights movements in the 50s and the 60s. There was always, Brother Jeep, a clear purpose and a clear agenda. Our people knew what they were marching for. One more time, Lamont, our people knew. Before they got out there, before they started walking, they organized themselves in churches. And they knew why they was marching, and they knew what they were trying to accomplish. They had an agenda and a certain outcome that they were after. You don't know your history. You don't know your history. For example, that march from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama in 1965. Infamously known for Bloody Sunday on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Brothers and sisters, that march was organized for the sole purpose of securing voting rights and voting protection for our people. And it was sparked in the wake of a black woman named Annie Lee Cooper, who went to the registrar's office to register to vote and was denied by a white person. It was in the wake of her being denied that we got ourselves together and started protesting for voting rights and voting protection. And before they struck out and made one step, our people knew what we were marching for. Before the protest was organized, the demonstrators were knowledgeable of their expected goal and outcome. Watch this, Monique. When you stop in traffic on a bridge, come on now. It's important for you to know the difference between having a strategic plan versus just making a bunch of useless noise and looking foolish. I know I'm gonna get in trouble, but my question is, last Sunday when you got through stopping traffic on the bridge, what did you really accomplish? And here's the trouble. For you to stop traffic on a bridge in Memphis, Tennessee, you don't even understand the overall implications to the entire system that you are infracturing. You slow. Let me help you. Do you know what Memphis, Tennessee is? Memphis, Tennessee is one of the world's largest distribution centers in the world. Stuff got to come through Memphis in order for the economy to keep growing. So when you get out there and stop traffic from coming into Memphis, you are slowing down the entire social and economic standing of the city. But you don't understand that. You just want to be out there. And you complaining, no jobs, no money, no jobs. Let stuff flow through Memphis like it's supposed to and try to accomplish your agenda some other way. See, I know y'all call me real special and uppity, and I'm cool with that. But I want to pastor an intelligent people. Yep. And so I guess when you showing up for these protests, not only should you be asking, what we marching for? If I'm going to walk from here today in all this heat, what is we trying to accomplish when we get from point A to point B, then what? But I guess another question you might need to ask is, who is it that we're following? Oh, I'm going to get messed up on Facebook today. I guess you might need to ask, who is it that's doing the organizing? Who is it that's spearheading all of this? While you following somebody, ask them, can you drive on your license? Do you have any warrants out for your arrest while I'm following up behind you? Your license ain't even in. You following up behind somebody that can't even drive. And do you not know how foolish that makes us look for following somebody that we have not even checked out responsibly? You stop in traffic and you following, ain't no telling who. I don't care nothing about y'all not shouting today. I'm trying to help our people. We got to make sure that our protests have purpose. Does that make sense? Janelle, watch how quiet it gets now. We also have to learn to be emotional without being ignorant. I said it right. I know you want me to say ignorant, but we got to learn how to be emotional without being ignorant. My people. Oh my God, my people. As a race of people, God has wired us out of his own creative wisdom. God created us to be rhythmic, creative, gifted, and he also created us to be an emotional people. We are an emotional people. Sometimes to our good, and many times to our fault. My brothers and sisters, there's nothing wrong with being emotional or being passionate about something. But hear me in love when I say, don't allow your emotions to push you into ignorance. Because ignorance makes a mockery out of you, and it stifles your intended agenda. What did you just say? I simply said ignorance makes you look like a fool, and you get nothing accomplished in the long run. I'm closing in a minute, but beloved, in our dialogue for justice and for change, we can and we must respect one another. We can and we must responsibly disagree without getting ignorant. I got a couple of questions for y'all to think about. Why am I your enemy? Because I disagree with your methods about achieving something. Why am I considered stuck up, bougie, out of touch, a sellout, or an Uncle Tom? Because I choose not to show my frustrations the same way you do. Just because I moved to the suburbs don't mean that I've forgotten where I came from. Come on. I moved out the ghetto, but I still got some ghetto in me, but that doesn't mean that I'm a sellout or an Uncle Tom because I don't want to act ignorant with you. Oh, okay, go on, sit there. Name calling, loud talking, spewing hatred and physical threats are all unnecessary and does not speak to the expected behavior of a true disciple of Christ. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, display intelligence at all costs. Look at somebody else again and tell them, neighbor, display intelligence at all costs, because somebody is watching you. Just because you have the freedom of speech doesn't mean you should feel free to just say everything you feel. Read your Bible with your emotional self. Ecclesiastes 5:2 says, be not rash with thy mouth, and let not thine heart be hasty to utter anything before God. For God is in heaven and you on the earth. Therefore let your words be few. Come here, James. James said in James chapter 1, 19 through 20, wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, but slow to speak, slow to wrath, because the wrath of man does not work the righteousness of God. When you choose to be ignorant, not only are you looking foolish, but you are disobeying God. Why you got to always put your clown suit on? And what we don't realize is they sit back and watch how ignorant we are with one another. I'm not talking about cutting a rug with some of them. I'm talking about with us. They sit back and laugh at us, and we really think we're doing something by getting loud. We think we're doing something by posting stuff on social media, and we looking more foolish than we've ever looked before. You don't have to reveal just how ignorant you are on every level. I know you're passionate. I know you're emotional, but become a thinker. Think through what your position is about a certain issue before you just jump out there on your emotions only. If you ask the average somebody, what are the political ramifications for what is happening in America? What are the social ramifications about what's happening in America? What's happening in terms of what's transpiring in your own race? How are we threatening our educational system? How are we deepening our intellectual standing? And the average African American, please don't take offense to this, but the ones that's raising the most hell are the ones who cannot intelligently articulate a solid, substantial position on any matter. They just out there crunk. How is what is, ask them, how is what is happening in 2006 complementary to what happened in 1960s? Thinker. We got to learn how to be emotional, but not ignorant. Can I drop this one off on you? And I'm done. My people. We got to learn how to preserve and practice the right to vote. See, that don't get a whole lot of response. But while you doing all this demonstration, while you doing all this demanding, while you doing all this loud talking, my question is, can you vote? As Christian Black Americans, we must preserve and practice our right to vote. Beloved, please hear me. No, this ain't nothing to shout about, but it really is if you think about it. We don't have to get out here and loud talk anybody. Just go to the polls and vote. And when you vote, your voice is heard loud and clear without you having to audibly say a word to anybody. I need every adult over the age of 18 and every young person that's about to be 18, hear me clearly. Too many people died so that we may have the right and responsibility to vote. I'm gonna say this real graphically, and I intend to say it the way I say it. Too many people died so that we can have the right and responsibility to vote. And we should not urinate on the sacrifice and price that our forefathers paid in order that we may be able to go to the polls and vote. If there's any group that should always be taking advantage of voting, it should be us. My people, we have to be registered to vote. My people, we have to stay qualified to vote. My people, we have to vote every time it's time to vote. Do yourself a favor so that we might lead a quiet and peaceable life. Educate yourself on your local, state, and national elections. Shame on you if you're registered to vote and the only time you vote is when we're voting for a president. Yeah.
You ain't got to, but shame on you.